Hi guys, I'm Phill from Australia and I hope you're having a fantastic day. This is my fourth masterclass or little workshop that I'm put together on how I approach the theme and variations from Norma. You can find Norma in the back of your Arban book. If you don't have an Arban book, I'll leave an affiliate link in the description below. If you haven't already checked out part 1, 2, and 3, I'll leave links in the description for them. I'll put a card up here to the playlist so you can go and suss them out before this one. Today we're going to cover off on the final variation, which is all about being really showy, being a theme and variation solo. Before you get started, make sure you go and check out my album, The Operatic Trumpet. This is where you'll find the actual recording that I've put together of this, so it'll help make a lot more sense of what I'm talking about, especially by hearing it with the piano. You get the full picture rather than just a demonstration like this by myself. Now, being the flashy movement, I want to find out just how fast I can go at the very end so it sounds the most impressive. So the last two lines, I want as fast as possible. That says vivace, but I'm going to practice from the trill because I don't get an opportunity to get a breath. So I'm going to do the trill and then the last two lines, and that's how I would practice and find out what speed I can do that at and make sure that I get it accurate and sounding good before I work out the rest of the variation from here. These last two lines are really important, right, in a theme and variation solo. The theme and variation solo is about showing off. It's showing off, right? That's what we're doing in this style of solo. We play a beautiful melody and show off. I'm a pretty player. I've got a beautiful sound. I'm melodic, all of that sort of stuff. And then we start showing off more and more technique, very much like Paganini used to do. So the best way for us to show off is make sure that the ending of the piece is accurate and fast. So by working on these last two lines, I'm going to work on these last two lines first. They're going to be the most practiced out of this whole last variation so that they are fast, accurate, and showy. To practice these last two lines, I would always start from the trill, the bar before. So the third last line, the B trill, before I go into it, because that sets us up for the last two lines. For me to work on this, I'm going to work on this in two little sections. So the second last line first. Now, the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you're hitting all of the first notes of these semiquavers, right? That we have, each beat has 4 semiquavers on it where we tongue the first, then we tongue the second to slow the second, third, and fourth. So the most important note in this whole phrase is the first beat of each of the semiquavers. And what's essentially happening here is it's a technique that was used by Beethoven a lot in that early romantic kind of period where he's going ba-bi, 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 bum, bim, bum. And essentially it's to go, this is the key, this is the key, this is the key, this is the key, over and over again. All right, and it really establishes what the key is. And that's what those notes are actually doing. Here you have a staccato on them. Most people tend to try to play them really short. By playing them really short, you're giving yourself a really small target. So if that's a short note, that's your target, right? Which means if you've got a small target, it's harder to hit it. I actually try to play them longer and making them a bigger note, so making them a bigger target. This one's going to be easier to hit. When you add the speed to it, you're not going to know that I'm actually aiming for a longer note or playing them longer. It's just going to move so fast that it's actually insignificant. So what I actually do is, if you looked at my sheet music, I've replaced every staccato with that type of accent, right? It helps it stand out, it helps me dictate the key, and it helps me show the most important notes of that phrase. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to show you the difference, okay? I'll demonstrate it where I tongue it short, those notes. Then I'll do it tongue it long, like I approach it. Then I'm going to do it up to speed, and you won't be able to tell the difference up to speed. Did you hear the difference there? Now, by playing it longer gives me the bigger target, but it also keeps the momentum rolling as well. So that's something that I like to do. Then when you get to the last line, we're into the triplets. Once again, ba-beep-ba-ba-beep-ba-ba-beep-ba-ba-ba-bam. So I try to think of this in two. So the C on beat 1 is the most important, and then the G on beat 3 is the most important. So I'm thinking ba-beep-ba-ba-beep-ba-ba-beep-ba-ba-bam, beam, bam. And then what I'm doing is those last 2 bars, I essentially go into basically half time. And by doing that, it adds the rit in there, or the ral in there, to make it sound very, very completed. Then I'm going to link those together. So I'd go back to the trill. I'm going to play through to the end. That really helps it sound really flashy, really fast, really technical, and also gives it a very finished, completed sound to the piece. Once I've got the speed of the ending sorted, which will be a work in progress because you want to try and make it faster each time, now I know where my end goal is, so I can go back to the start of the movement and I can gradually set out how I'm going to accelerando, because if you notice in the second line there's an accelerando, and then it's marked again later on. So it's constantly getting faster, this whole variation. So I can outlay how much faster I'm going to get at each little step, so that I get to that last finish, like the finale, and I'm at that faster tempo. And that's the end of the first phrase before the accelerandos begin. Now, because it's slow, a lot of people are going to have a tendency to continually slow down. Don't slow down. Keep the tempo moving. If you need to practice with a metronome, I strongly encourage doing so, because if you slow down a slow movement or a slow variation or a slow piece of music, it just becomes a drag and uninteresting, uninspiring. Quite often we keep slowing down because we're like, oh, it's being musical. It's not. It's just really boring, to be honest. So make sure you're on top of the tempo and keep it flowing. If anything, be slightly faster than on the slightly slower tempo. The other thing that I want to pay attention to is these accents. These accents are really important. They're in there for a reason. Make sure those notes stand out. But don't just suddenly smack them. Make sure that the notes before them gradually get more firmer and more accented, I guess. Like each note before leading up to the accent needs to be a 2 note. The accented note needs to be an at note, and then we need to come away from that. So with this section, I like to pull back the tempo on the G, F, and then the E semiquaver. I then take my breath after the E and then continue on from there. And I phrase that exactly the same on the 6th line of this variation as well. Same thing. Finish off the phrase with the E, then continue on with the 2nd semiquaver of that bar. We start the accelerando here, but don't go too fast too soon. You want to hit your peak at the very end of the variation. notice here it says alternate double tonguing. I always single tongue this first section because it prevents me from going too fast too soon. I then put a slight roll or a slight backwards arrow over the last two beats of that 1, 2, 3, fourth line of this variation and finish on the quaver C. That's the end of that phrase. I take my breath and then I continue on with the accelerando after that as well. Once again, pull back the last two beats, finish on the E, take my breath, and then continue on. And then this last accelerando, you notice I went hell for leather. Gradually getting faster, like you're dropping a ball down the stairs. It goes boom, 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 and just gradually getting faster all the way through to that vivace, and it's fast as you can do cleanly. Flash in the pan, nice and showy, brilliant way to finish. Yeah, give a quick demonstration of how I play the whole movement, but make sure you go and listen to my album, The Operatic Trumpet, because with the piano part fitting in, it helps it make so much more sense, and it's way more enjoyable. And that's how I approach the theme and variations from Norma. If you haven't got the sheet music, I've got an affiliate link in the description below. Feel free to go and grab the sheet music from that for yourself because it's a lot of fun to play. And realistically, I would love to see you and how you've gone with playing this. If you record it in one movement at a time, you know, go and do that. But I'd love to see you guys and how you guys are playing because these videos have been a bit more popular than I expected them to be honest. But you know, I'd like to see how you guys are going, and I can help you by offering more feedback that's specific to you as well. So get the sheet music, listen to my recording, get the sheet music, record yourself playing them, and then share them with me so I can help you more. Next week, I'm going to start on, next week we're going to work on Nessun Dorma. It's the final track of my album, so feel free to check that out as well. As always, I'm Phill from Australia, and happy practicing.